and welcome back to the Looking Stylish YouTube channel. Today I wanted to talk to you a little bit about colour because it's one of the things that I get so many questions about. So I've pulled together some of the questions that you've asked me and I'm going to answer them for you. I will be inserting a few pictures in here and there just to clarify points, but I hope yours is one of the questions that I do answer, so let's get into the video. Okay, so first of all, I'm not going to go into depth about what being colour analysed means. I have done a previous video on colour, so what I'll do is I will link that in the description box so that you can have a look at that as well. What I wanted to do with this video is to give you a little bit more information on how you can tweak your colours to suit you, and also some of the questions that I regularly get answered. So let's start with the first question, which is, can my colouring change? Yes, your colouring can change. Let's say, for example, that you've got blonde hair and blue eyes, and as you've got older, your hair has started to go silvery or grey. So typically you would probably have been in what we call the soft dominant palette. And what might happen when your hair goes silvery grey is it will create more of a contrast, and so therefore you will probably move into the cool dominant palette. If you take me as an example, and I will insert some pictures in for you so that you can see this, when I was much younger I was soft, and my skin tone is warm, so I was a soft warm. After I had my children, my hair went really dark, and I'd always had it highlighted previously, and somebody said to me, why don't you let it go dark, it would be more dramatic. And I quite liked that idea, so I just took the highlights out of my hair and went to my natural colour, which was very dark, and that moved me with my dark eyes into the deep dominant. And then again, as I've got older and the natural highlights have started to come through, I now want to soften my look a little bit more, because it's, for me now, I think it's too harsh to have very dark hair. So I've kind of moved between the soft and the deep palette, and I do wear colours from both. So I hope that answered the question that yes, your colouring can change. If you were colour analysed a long time ago and your hair has changed colour, or maybe your skin tone has lightened as well, then it is worth getting reanalysed just to check which new colours you could be using, and perhaps which colours aren't so flattering. So the next little thing I wanted to address was what happens if I don't like my colours. And this can be quite common. I know when I first was colour analysed years ago, I was told I was an autumn. Now, I went to have my colours done wearing a denim skirt and a pale blue t-shirt, which is much more like what was at the time summer colouring. And when I was presented with these autumn colours, I thought, ooh, sludge. And I really wasn't keen on them. But what happened was I did actually have one outfit in my correct colours, shall we say, and I wore it to work and people kept complimenting me. And you know what it's like when somebody compliments you and says that you look great. And the interesting thing was they didn't say those colours look good on you. What they actually said was, you look really good, what have you done? Because they knew that I looked good, but they couldn't figure out what it was I'd done. And that's what happens when you're wearing colours that really do suit you, because people tend to notice you rather than the colours. So going back to this question of what can I do if I don't like my colours? Well, I also think that you can only really look fantastic in colours that make you feel good as well. And this is where I like to adapt the colour analysis process, because I think although we now, I use the tonal system, which is based on 12 different palettes, and so that gives us a lot more variety than the old 4 seasonal system used to. But it still could be that you get a palette of colours and you look at it and you think, what am I going to wear, because I don't like a lot of those colours. Perhaps they are too soft or muted for you and you like bright colours. Or perhaps there's a lot of blues in there. You may be cool, so there's a lot of blues in the cool palette and you're not that keen on wearing blue. So what can you do to make the palette something that you're happier to wear? Well, this is something that I teach in my colour course, and I will leave a link to that below because at the moment I'm also doing a 50% discount on that. So but what you can do is take your palette, have a look at the colours, pick out those colours that you really like and perhaps the colours you've got in your wardrobe that you do wear, and then start looking at those other colours that are in the palette and try and work out what it is about them that you don't like. And also try and work out if there's something about them that you do like. So going back to that example of the blues, perhaps there are some blues in the palette that I like, but perhaps they're too bright for me. So what you can start to do is have a look at colours that are close to that, similar to that, and if I don't like the bright colours, I could just tone them down a little bit. Or I could wear some of the colours that I really do like and use some of those colours that perhaps I'm not so keen on in a print or as a little bit of accent. Now, obviously, if you're wearing colours that suit you, you're going to look better. But having said that, I think it is really important that you like the colours that you wear as well. And I think you can get away with colours that don't suit you or physically suit you by being confident. I had a friend who has got red hair and she loved fuchsia pink. Now red hair and fuchsia pink shouldn't really work. But she was a very lively, bubbly, outgoing person and she would wear that fuchsia pink with confidence. And so who's to say that's wrong? She felt good and therefore she was projecting confidence and happiness, and that will always make you look good. So I hope that answers the question a little bit about what if I don't like the colours that are in my palette. The next question is, how do I work out which colours suit me? Well, there's a couple of things that you can do to always have colours that are going to suit you, even if you don't know what your colouring is. So there are some colours which we call universal, and that means they suit everybody. And they typically are neutral colours, so you'll have things like soft white, navy, a charcoal grey. They will suit everyone. They might not be their absolute best colours, but they will work on you. There are then some accent colours that you can bring in as well, which are universal. True red and true blue you can use, and you can also use purple and teal. And again, I will link to some articles that I've written about colour that have some of these colours in them so that you can see what they look like. So those colours you can use and you will be confident in knowing that they suit you because they suit everybody. Now the next thing that you can do is try and figure out whether you've got a warm skin tone or a cool skin tone. And again, that's going to give you a lot of information about what colours suit you. So there's a couple of things that you can do. You can obviously look at your skin. If you have very pink toned skin and pink lips and possibly blue eyes or grey eyes, then you would typically be cool. You can also look at the veins on your wrist, and if they're blue, then that gives an indication that you're cool as well. If they're green and you have more of a peachy toned skin and you perhaps have brown eyes or green eyes, then you're more likely to be warm. So what you can then do is start looking at colours and deciding which colours you can use with your cool tone skin or which colours you can use with your warm tone skin. Now for people with cool tones, things like blues and pinks will look great on them. For people with warm tones, then things like olivey greens, yellows, and the more warm reds, so things like a brick red or a tomato red. For a cool tone skin, your red is going to be better if it's more of a raspberry red. So you can think about it in those terms. And thinking about those teals that you can both wear, the sea greens are going to be good on a cool, whereas those sort of warm, olivey, mossy greens are going to be better on a warm. So quite often, again, when I write articles on the blog, I will talk about whether you're warm toned or whether you're cool toned. And also when I do the seasonal capsules, again, I typically do one for a warm toned skin and one for a cool toned skin, so that you know that all of the colours that I've included in there will work on you. So that's what you can do if you don't know what your colouring is and you're unsure about it. The other thing that you can do is I'll put a link again in the description box to some more detailed descriptions about colouring that you can use that are on my website, and there's a downloadable tip sheet there as well that you can have a look at. The next question is all about makeup and what makeup to wear to suit your colouring. Now, if you have had your colours analysed, you can use colours that are within your palette. So you could use the pinks that are in your palette for lipsticks, or typically if you're a warmer skin tone, you would have more peachy pinks in your palette. So again, you can use those for your lipstick colours. And you can use accent colours that are in your palette on your eyes. So it may be that you've got those blues in the palette, so you could use a blue eyeliner. Sometimes a blue mascara looks really nice as well. For your blusher, look for a pink one if you're cool toned. And then if you're warm toned, look for more bricky coloured blushes or more peachy coloured blushes. And for your eyes, some of those warm mossy greens or the soft browns would look really good as well. So when you're thinking about what colours to wear, what colours to have your hair and what colours to use in your makeup, look at the colours that you've got in your palette if you've had a colour analysis done. The next question is one that I unfortunately have seen a lot. And with a lot of my clients I have put this right, but it still concerns me how bad this is. And that is, what happens, or what can I do if I've been analysed incorrectly? And as I say, sadly, this does happen. And it tends to happen when you get somebody who's not particularly experienced in using colour, or somebody who hasn't really been trained to use colour. So for example, I've seen clients who've come to me and they've been told they're a winter, or they've been told they're deep and cool, when actually they would have been in the old terms an autumn, or they would be a deep and warm. So quite typically what can happen is that if you have dark hair and dark eyes, you could be told you're a winter. Well, when I had dark hair and with my dark eyes, I would have actually been a deep autumn. So that's quite a common one. The other one that can be common is the bright dominant gets incorrectly analysed. You might have somebody who's got jewel-like bright eyes and a pale skin tone and dark hair, and they might have been told that they were deep. Well, in actual fact, they won't be deep, because in order to be deep, you need to have dark brown eyes. So if you've got bright blue eyes and a pale skin but dark hair, then you're going to be bright rather than deep. Now, some of these terms you may not understand, and I hope I'm not confusing you, and I will put lots of information, as I said, in the description box, and some other videos that you can look at to clarify this a little bit more. But if you do feel that you've been analysed incorrectly, then please feel free to contact me, and I will let you know what I think. If you want to purchase a colour dossier, then again, feel free to do that as well. But if you don't want to spend any more money because you've already been analysed, then just let me know and I will at least tell you what I think. Okay, the next question on colour is about where do I start building a colour scheme for a capsule wardrobe? And again, this really depends on whether it's a capsule wardrobe for business, whether it's a capsule wardrobe for downtime, or, it depends on your lifestyle really. Because I think for business, it makes a lot more sense to start building a capsule wardrobe with neutrals. So if you have to wear a jacket or you have to wear a suit for work, then probably the best thing that you can buy first off is a navy suit. Because as I mentioned earlier, navy suits everyone, and you can then with your tops and your blouses start including some accent colours to personalise that a little bit more. So if it's a corporate or a work capsule wardrobe, I'd recommend that you start with a neutral. As I said, navy, charcoal grey, if you know your cool colouring, silver grey. If you know your warm colouring, you maybe go for an olive green or a chocolate brown. So start with a neutral, and then start looking at some of the accent colours that you like to use with that neutral, and then perhaps pick a second neutral which is a lighter one, so something like a cream if you're warm toned, and a taupe or a camel coat for example. And if you're cool toned, I would suggest maybe an ivory or a soft white, and perhaps another grey, so like a lighter grey, or another blue, like a charcoal blue. If it's a capsule wardrobe for casual wear, then obviously you can have a lot more fun with what you do. So you might not necessarily want to start with a neutral, you might start with a favourite colour. So you can pick a favourite colour from your palette and then start building colours around that. So include it in prints, perhaps have it as a one-off item piece, and then start putting some neutrals around that as well. And I did do a video again about creating a capsule wardrobe with a favourite colour, so I will leave that linked in the description box as well. So there will be hopefully lots of information that you'll find useful there to work your way through. The final question is, what can I do if I have a job or I belong to a club or something like that where I have to wear a specific colour and that colour doesn't suit me? So, typically this could be that you have to wear black and black doesn't suit you. Okay, so what you can do is you can start thinking about getting good colours close to your face. So if you've got a black jacket on, it may be that you have to wear black and white, which can be harsh on most people. So if you have got to wear black and white, if it's possible, perhaps change the white top or white shirt to one that's a softer white rather than a brilliant white or a cream, if you can get away with that. The other thing that you can do, as I said, is to start bringing some good colours to your face. So as long as you're not restricted on what makeup you can wear as well, you can wear one of your best colours on your lips and on your eyes. So for me, if I had to wear black and white, what I would probably do is wear one of my really good red lipsticks. I might do my eyes in some soft browns or some olivey greens, and then I'm putting good colour right on my face. So hopefully it's detracting a little bit from this harsh black and white that isn't ideal on me. The other thing that you can do, again, if you're allowed to, is a necklace. So if you know you're warm toned, you could have a nice warm gold necklace. If you know you're cool toned, it could be a silver necklace, or perhaps it could be in a colour if you're allowed to do that. And finally, the other thing that you can do is keep away from your face as far as possible those colours that are wrong. And by that, what I mean is, if you can have variation in the neckline of the top, if you show more skin, that's going to work better on you than that harsh colour that isn't supposedly right for you. So I hope that's answered some of the questions. If you do have any other questions, then please do send them in to me, and when I get enough, I will make another video and answer some of those questions for you as well. Colour is something that can be great fun. It's also something that can be very confusing. And I think the really important thing to know about colour is when you get a colour palette of colours that suit you, if you've been colour analysed, use that as your starting point. Because, as I said earlier, the key thing really is that you feel confident. So if you're wearing colours that you know suit you, but you've also tailored that to colours that you really like as well, then you are going to look and feel your best. So think about how you can adapt that palette of colours to suit you better. And one final little tip here, when you're looking at your palette of colours, don't try and match things exactly to that colour, because you're going to have a lot of trouble doing that. You know, to have exactly the same cobalt blue that's in your colour palette in a top is probably quite tricky. So once you find something that you like, if you lay it on your colour palette and it looks like it blends nicely with those colours, then go for it. Because it might be a slightly lighter shade or a slightly darker shade, it might be a little bit brighter or a little bit softer, and that's fine. So don't be too rigid about those colours that are in your palette. Start experimenting a little bit more with colours that you really love and how you can work them into your palette. So once again, as I said, I do go into this in a whole lot more detail in the colour course. Until the 18th of July, I am doing a 50% discount on that, and you can get that by using the code COLOUR50 over on the lookingstylishstyleguide.co.uk website. So I hope you enjoyed that. It will give you so much information about how to wear and use colour. And I hope you liked this video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up. And if you haven't already subscribed, then I'd love you to join us, and I'll look forward to seeing you next week. Thanks for watching. Bye for now.